Well, good morning, Diet Disruptors. Carrie here, along with, of course, Coach Brenna. Brenna, you've been hanging out with me a lot
Hello.
lately.
I love hanging out with you, Carrie. This is great fun.
I love hanging out with you too. So, how is everyone doing? Can you believe we are at the end of February? Like, I
Unbelievable.
actually thought we had another week, but because it's a shorter month, this is the last Monday of the month.
Right, right.
What?
And a week of vacation. So, yes, it
Oh,
flew
for
by.
you. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Yes.
Yeah, it's so crazy to me. So I'd love to hear from people what you're up to. Put comments in. Tell me where you're tuning in from. If you're watching the replay, great. Tell us you're watching the replay and where you are tuning in from. We've had a bunch of new people in this group, Brenna, or actually people are watching this on YouTube and our bunch of places, but I always think about our Diet Disruptor Squad Facebook
Right.
group. I love that group. If you're in the group, say hey. We've had a bunch of new people in the group, so I feel like I always have to introduce myself all over again.
Right. It's amazing. I've seen it grow. Every time I go in, I'm like, oh my God, look at all these new people that joined. It's really a wonderful group and it's just growing. It's so fun.
I love it because it really gives us an opportunity to be able to share with people. I hope that
Right.
people are in that group, turning your notifications on, I mean, we post every day. There's what, 13 coaches? Like,
Right.
we are in there all the time, just trying to like serve you all.
Right.
So I'd
Right.
love to know what you love about this group. So those of you that are in the group right now, and those of you that are watching live with us, or watching in the replay, what do you love about this group? Because I think it's fun. And
It is a lot of fun.
I don't know, I need them as much as maybe they need me. But also, don't forget, you guys, on Tuesdays, we do our Tuesday test. There's always a different test, and we do it for a whole month. So this is, I think, the last week of the month. And this month, we're giving away a mini nutrition kit. And all you have to do every Tuesday is answer the question. So a lot of times it's about watching this episode and answering a question about it, but we give away, like last month, we gave away the Atomic Habits book. A month before that, we gave away our favorite energy fizz sticks. And this month, we're going to give away a mini nutrition kit. So it's fun, right?
Yes. Oh,
All
I
right.
love it. I love
All
it.
right. So now we got people settled and coming on board. Hello, hello, hello. Let's dig into what we're going to talk about. Now, I will give a full disclaimer. We usually do our themes for a whole month, but because I was actually thinking that there was one more week to this, we're going to continue with the theme next month as well. But we're really talking about how not to diet, to be honest with you, and why it's so bad for us. So we have been talking all month about why diets are so bad. And then you and I talked about how people sabotage themselves without even knowing it.
Yes. Thinking they're doing the best. I mean, it's well intended, but absolutely sabotaging themselves.
Yep. And we all did that, but didn't know any
Absolutely.
better because it's so confusing out there, all of the information. I
It is.
just had a phone call with somebody whose gym did a program called Fast Way to Weight Loss. And it was fasting. And
Oh,
she said she gained 5 pounds. And I'm like, well, I'm not surprised.
yeah.
But how confusing must it be when a gym, I,
Right.
I want
Right.
to get on the phone with that gym and be like, you are
I
not.
know. I
Oh,
know. And once you stop fasting, like we talk about always, like you're depriving yourself, you're not building that trust, and now you start feeling your body hangs on to it because it doesn't know any better. It's like, wait, you might fast again, so I'm going to hang on, and you gain it right back. It's
yep.
incredible how that works. Yet, and it sounds so simple because this is how we live now, but it's so difficult for people to really grasp it, and
I know. I
it's
know.
harmful,
But that's why we want to teach. We want to teach and we want
right?
people to know and people to understand. So then last week I came on board with Coach Nicole. And the reason I brought Coach Nicole on board for that is because Coach Nicole and I used to actually coach teachers together in schools. I trained her to be a mindset coach with teachers. And we always talked about how we could teach teachers all sorts of different strategies
Right.
on teaching, but if we didn't get to their mindsets, it didn't matter, especially in inner city schools where a lot of our
Mhm.
teachers were teaching students that didn't look like them or come from the same background of them, and they
Right.
had a lot of biases, and so we had to get past those. And so what we talked about last week was around our own mindsets, and it totally relates to nutrition. So
It
if you
does.
were able to catch any of those, go back into our episodes. We have them on our podcast. We have them in our unit section, in our Facebook group, and on our YouTube channel. So got to go back and listen to those. And this week, it's like the culmination. We talked about why diets fail and how we're sabotaging ourselves and what important role our mindsets play. And so today we're really going to just dig in how not to diet. Like, what does it mean not to diet? You
Right.
don't diet anymore, right, Brenna?
Heck no. Never again will I ever diet. Never deprive myself ever again. There's
So
no
funny.
need.
It's so funny. Somebody once said to me, Carrie, it's like you screwed me up. I can never just have an apple anymore. And I'm like,
Right. Because at one point we believed that would be the best option. It's have an apple. It's healthy. But
well,
now that we've learned, yeah, it's healthy, but it's not correct. We need to add more things and make it complete. So
right. Good point. Like you
yes.
just said that. It's healthy, but it's not complete. And that's such a huge piece of the puzzle. That is how not to diet. Understand
Right.
that it is not about deprivation. It is about fueling our body with food, but it's also not just about eating healthy. It's also about eating correct. And that's so important because I was just talking to somebody not so long ago who said she loves donuts and she loves cookie dough. And those are her like two biggest things. And there's just so much guilt around it. And I'm like, it's
Mm-hmm.
because we don't know about food. Now, I'm
Right.
not saying everybody should go have cookie dough, but I'm saying it's a fat and a carb. And if we could
Right.
just understand that, we could eat
Right.
that correctly, right?
Exactly.
Like if I say to people, what's the difference? I'm going to ask this question. People comment, okay? I want to hear. What is more correct, an apple or pizza with chicken? I would love to see those comments on there, right? Because
I
whenever I
love
ask
this
that
question.
question, people inevitably say, this is what they say. Well, I want to say apple, but because you're asking me, I feel like it's pizza with chicken.
Right. It's a trick question.
If people have been following us for any, right? I see pizza with chicken. Okay, yeah. People know if you're following diet disruptors that pizza with chicken is more correct. No, it's not more healthy, but it's more correct. Why is that more correct, Coach Brenna?
Because we look at the proteins, the fats, and the carbs and making sure that every time we eat, we're incorporating the three of them. So if we're just having an apple, we're not having the PFC balance that we need for a correct meal. So an apple, like we said, it's healthy. It's just not PFC balanced.
Yes.
We still
So
need the fat and the protein.
yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that, why that matters. And then what I want you to be able to really then talk to everybody about why this truly is different than a diet.
Okay.
Because I think that that's really important. That's a question I get all the time. Why is this different than a diet? But let me go into a little bit about why that PFC combination is so important. When we think about what a typical diet really does, it's about depriving ourselves. We don't talk about blood sugar stabilization. You never hear that when people are talking about losing weight, when people are talking about dieting. Nobody ever says that. It's not like the Noom commercial talks about blood sugar stabilization ever. It's actually about like portion control, calories, bringing in less than you burn, like all of that stuff. And so when we think about it through blood sugar stabilization, we know what carbs do to us. Carbs spike our blood sugar. They spike the glucagon, okay, which is part of the formula of blood sugar. And people think, well, people don't really know, but they spike your blood sugar. That sounds bad, right? But that's what gives us energy. That's what gives us energy. But it also, if our blood sugar is too high, we store fat. It's so crazy. Have you ever eaten a meal and like been totally stuffed?
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Well, that is our body's blood sugar too high. And as soon as we are stuffed and our blood sugar is too high, we store fat. And so if we're just eating a carb, we're spiking our blood sugar, right? But when you have a protein with it, that actually brings in insulin and that balances out the glucagon. It's like the two together are better than one. I always say, like, my husband is great and I'm great, but the two of us together, we are better together than we
Right.
are apart. And that's like carbs and protein. They do that together. But then it's like the fat is like when you have your first kid and you realize, oh, now we're a complete family. Now we're here. That fat, it just, okay, so it helps you to digest the proteins and the carbs. It cushions your organs. Good fat does so many good things for you. It
Yes.
also helps you feel full longer. Protein does that as well. But it's really, really important. It's the synergy. Synergy is when things separate aren't as good as they are together. And that's why dieting doesn't make sense, because if you think about your protein for the day or your carbs for the day, people are tracking macros, but they're not taking into consideration how those foods work together better and balance our blood sugar, then you're not actually doing, you're not fueling your body in the way that it needs to be fueled. I'm going to share my screen real quick because a lot of you guys know who Mark McDonald is. He's the person that actually developed the concept of PFC every three. I work very closely with Mark. Mark and I are good friends. He's been my mentor for years. He started Venice Nutrition, and he has this great visual. Those of you that are on the podcasts aren't going to be able to see this, so I'll explain it to you. But this really kind of shows the importance of blood sugar levels. Our body's goal is to have its blood sugar stabilized. And when our blood sugar is stabilized, you can see in this visual, when your blood sugar is between that 80 to 120 mark, you're in the fat burning zone. Your body is functioning. You're at homeostasis. Balanced hormones, blood sugar stabilization actually helps to boost your metabolism. You can't store fat when you're sitting here consistently. When your blood sugar is too high, you store fat. When your blood sugar is too low, you lose muscle. Because, and think about, protein feeds our muscles. If we're not getting the right amount of food, our body's going to try to balance itself on its own, and it's going to go after all those nutrients that are stored in your muscles, which is why we need complete protein. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But
Right.
that's the science behind it, which is really powerful. But then there's the practical part. Okay, here, what does that look like? What does that mean? Does it just mean pizza with chicken? Well, not really, but it does mean fueling yourself with good proteins, complete proteins, good fats, and good carbs every 3 to 4 hours. That is powerful. That
It
is
is.
how you don't diet.
It
But
is.
I mean, I don't know though, Brenda, because I'll tell people that they're like, well, I've done a program that kind of looks like that before. And I think even you might have said that a little too, but it always still felt restrictive and it was always still considered a diet. So how does our approach actually, how is it different than the other stuff out there?
Well, the programs, obviously, we are all very honest, and, those of us who are coaches and people that are listening, we've all done every single diet ever, which brings us full circle to where I am right now. And doing challenges and CrossFit challenges where, you're going to the gym and they're giving you these extremely rigorous workouts and these very restrictive diet plans. Well, one of the things that I felt very, I guess, committed to with diet disruptors is the fact that I understood why I was eating what I was eating and not worried about what I was taking in. And then I had to exercise and exercise. And I mean, and I love to exercise. I love the battle ropes. I love flipping tires, but I didn't know why I was doing what I was doing. So when I first joined the 4 Weeks to Wellness, which was absolutely life-changing and obviously changed my life because I became a coach, I was so dedicated to it, it made sense. So it's not a diet, but it's concepts that you really need to think about and incorporate within your everyday life. So you never have to diet. I have clients that, will ask me questions, wondering why, like, well, I have a bagel and with butter for breakfast. Why is that such a bad thing? And now my dog's barking. I'm sorry. And trying to have them understand the concepts of like you just said, balancing the proteins, the fats, and the carbs. So I'm sorry. Stop it.
This is the problem.
The joys
this is
of
what we
being
do.
home.
My dog will start barking in a second too. Don't you worry. No, you're absolutely right. And I think that's one of the things that is really, I guess, people that will say, I've done all the things, I've tried all the diet.
Right.
I always say, you actually haven't. You've done the same thing over and
Right.
over. Right.
You've done
And
diets.
even if you've been like eating small meals all day, one, you're still deprived because it's typically a calorie count or
Right.
macros that you're tracking for the day. I mean, how freeing is it not to have to track anything?
I cannot stand the math part. You know, and once
Agreed.
you understand this, it's like a no brainer. And, you know, and you think, and I think about, and I like to keep this in my frame of references, you know, you look at people who, you know, are very fit and they look so thin and they look so healthy and yet they eat all the time. And you think, how in the world can they be so thin? All they do is eat. Ding, 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 ding. That's the light bulb that goes off because they fuel their body.
Yeah. When your body is really fueled correctly, your body gets to that hormonal balance. That's how you're getting to your optimal health, and you'll get to your optimal weight that way. But when
Right.
we deprive ourselves, obviously that's not going to work. So we need to understand that balancing our blood sugar is the key. That's how we don't diet anymore.
Right.
When as soon as you have to restrict yourself, that's when your body goes into that deprivation mode and works at a deficit. And I always say, since when was a deficit a good thing, right?
Right. It's
But
not.
here's the thing, it doesn't mean we can just eat whatever we want. We're still
Right.
cognizant. One of the things I love about our 4 weeks to wellness lifestyle launch is that we talk about the discipline of declining. And yes, you know, you can't, there's life is a give and take, you guys. Like, if you go to bed at too late, you're going to be tired in the morning, or you can sleep in to make up for it, but then you're going to miss something. Like, you always give up something to get something. But
Right.
here's the thing, when you are fueling your body correctly with the right foods and the right frequency, your body's in more forgiving. Right. So then you can do your off plan meals. We call them our appreciation meals. And you can go off into, you know, doing something like your cookie dough and not having the guilt around it, because your body metabolizes food much more quickly. You know, like, I know you have a boy. Like, I feel like boys, especially when they're young teenage boys, they feel like they can eat anything, and they're
Oh
just
God.
like, well,
Yep.
it's almost like we're trying to simulate that a little bit. When you are fueling your body correctly, when you have the discipline of declining the ice cream every single day, when you do your appreciation meal and have the dessert, your body doesn't miss a beat. You become more
Right.
like a teenage boy.
Right. Right. And I look forward to it. I look forward to the appreciation meals because that means, you know, we can go out to a nice restaurant and have, you know, whatever you want. But I've
Yeah.
noticed that now that I do live like this, when I do go to restaurants and I know it's an appreciation meal and I can, you know, I can splurge a bit, I find myself really not.
Mm.
I tend to stay where I know, you know, this is what my body needs rather than, you know, going full force and having whatever it is the heck that I would have had, you know, a couple years ago. So
Yeah.
I mean, it does
Well,
it,
it's
it's
almost like you feel
mindset.
better.
Yes.
We redefine our relationship with food so many times, especially in the 4 weeks to wellness or in our exclusive coaching group that we don't always have, but the 12-week trifecta. We really help to identify the fact that a lot of times we think, well, if I'm going to a party, I have to be able to eat and drink anything I want. And
Right.
I mean, it's not to say you can't. I just want people to be intentional about it. But your life doesn't need to center around that. And we try
Right.
to teach another way. But I'll be right with you. I love like a healthy meal that tastes amazing. And maybe in
Yes.
my appreciation meal, I'll have a little extra. I'll have an extra glass of wine or whatever it
Right.
is. But I don't deviate that much, only because my body doesn't want it anymore. My daughter the other day just had cheese, and she doesn't do dairy very often because she knows she's gone through the 4 weeks to wellness with us and she knows
Hmm.
what it does. And she did dairy, and she was literally, I shouldn't even say this, she was like on the toilet forever, and she was like, this is not worth it. This is
Yes.
not worth it. So she
Yes.
doesn't feel deprived because it feels worse
Right.
after.
Right.
And she didn't even enjoy
Absolutely.
it that much.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I actually, it's funny that you said that. I had the same conversation with my daughter this morning because dairy makes her feel bad. So, and just talking about, well, it's not necessarily a diagnosis, it's really understanding your body. So, because she was asking me, am I lactose intolerant? Well, it's not an official diagnosis, but you know, if it's reacting to you and you
Yeah.
don't feel good, then don't eat it, don't drink it.
But that's
So,
why
find
I think
alternatives.
our 4 weeks is so powerful, because we
Hmm.
actually walk you through how to know. I just talked to somebody about cravings, and she said, it's probably an emotional craving. And I'm like, but you know what? You haven't been fueling your body correctly. Your body craves foods when you don't fuel it correctly. So do
Right.
you know if it's psychological or physical? No. Let's at
Right.
least teach you how to do it so that that's not a question. And then it's psychological, we'll deal with that. But
Right.
you're trying, it's like you're putting the wrong band-aid on the wound, because
Right.
you're thinking it's psychological, beating yourself up about it. And it really
Right.
just might be, let's change the way you're eating, and that will make a big difference.
Right.
I have to
Right.
tell you, I'm so distracted right now, though, because your clock is so off in timing. It's you have to fix your clock. How do
You know
you
what? I
even
don't
tell
I don't
time?
sit here often and the battery's running low. I know.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
Thank you for
I
picking
I
that
have
up.
a clock that literally stays at 4 o'clock all the time, and I always say, well, it's right twice a day.
Yeah,
So
well, this one's never right. So
yeah, okay,
I
that's
like
so
the
funny.
clock. It needs batteries.
That is so funny. Well, anyway, okay, I'm not distracted anymore.
Thank you.
Not dieting really is about fueling your body in a way that it loves. And when we talk about PFC every three, we're talking about eating correct. And when we talk about eating the right types of foods, we're talking about eating healthy. But again, if you can't always eat healthy, you can almost always eat correct. And when you understand food and you understand that all ice cream is a carbon of fat, there's no need to
Right.
have guilt behind it. When you don't
Right.
have to track your food in an app, when you don't have to think about the fact that, oh, I ate all my calories at breakfast, I'm done for the day.
No,
Oh my gosh, that is
I
so
know.
restrictive. And
Or I'm
when,
not going to eat all day because I'm going to a party
oh,
tonight and I
right.
want to have what I want. So you're just depriving yourself. And
Yep.
oh,
And I always say, like, people that come to me and like, I just can't figure out how to lose weight. I can't figure. And then I tell them our approach, and they're like, oh, I don't know if that's going to work. And I'm like, oh, how's yours not working for you? Because you came to me saying you
right,
can't lose the weight, right?
right, right.
So anyway, I hope that this helps people to understand the approach. Now, really understanding and and doing are very different. How many people say, I know what to do, I just don't do it? And I think that's a big part of like what we teach is, yes, you know how to do it, but like to really live it and understand it, tweak it, personalize it, make sure it works
Yes,
for you, to learn new habits, to understand your mindsets and to identify them and then work through them.
right,
That's what makes it last. That's what makes
right,
it, even if you don't feel like it, you still do it.
right.
And so that's what our 4 weeks to wellness is really all about. And so it is not open yet. It is still closed, but we are doing a few times a year. We offer a free seminar to dig more into this stuff. I think the first time you came to us was in a seminar, wasn't it?
Yes,
You did one of the free seminars, right?
yes, I
Yeah,
did.
we did a lot last year. I think we did 6. I just felt like with COVID and with people struggling so much, I wanted to do a lot of them.
Mhm.
It was exhausting because we are like on it. We're doing lives every single day. It's amazing. But we're going to do probably 3 this year. So
Mhm.
even though the 4 weeks to wellness is not open, this is a great way to learn more.
Right.
So register at disruptyournutrition.com/seminar. We'll put a link in I have a link in the comments or in my you know my info, whatever that is, all that. So make sure you register for that. It's going to be fun. We do prizes too.
Yep.
I love seminar week.
Yes, it's awesome. And again, that I mean, it's really where I got jump started.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely beneficial.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people that just like learn so much and run with it. So hopefully that will be you. I hope to see you guys at the seminar. Let us know what you thought of
Yes.
this. Let us know. I would love you to answer this question as we're wrapping this up. Put in the comments. Like I feel like Brenna, you and I are both educators. I don't do enough check for understanding. So I'm going to do a check for understanding right now.
Perfect.
How is our approach different than a diet? That's my question for you. How is our approach different than a diet? I want to see your comments as we go. It's because when I'm on Zoom, I really have a hard time seeing Facebook.
I
So,
know. I
um,
know.
anyway, I will comment on people's comments. And if people are on YouTube or
Yes.
anything like that, I'll go in and do that as well. All right, Brenna, it's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to be here. I'm so happy.
Yeah, and join our seminar. You can hang out with us like live. Be so much fun. Like
Yes, join
more
us.
than once a week in our squad page.
Join
Okay.
us.
All
What
right,
we're
Brenna,
doing.
have an awesome week. I'll talk to
Bye,
you later, hon.
everybody. Thanks,
Bye, everyone.
Carrie.
Bye.